Hello everyone, welcome to Double Bits Workshop. So in today's video, we'll be working on a decoration for the front yard. We'll be working on the classic snowman, since it is the holiday season of Christmas upon us. So today's chosen medium will be logs, or live edge, better known as. And what I'll be working with is my chainsaw here. I work with the 20 volt DeWalt electric chainsaw. Thing works phenomenal. I love it. All you have to do is add bar oil. These are the types of projects that this is absolutely perfect for, where we'll be working with anywhere from a few inches to up to 12 inches of logs that we'll be cutting up, and then we'll be stacking them to make them look like snowmen. So pretty straightforward. What we'll be doing to connect these said logs once they're cut up with the chainsaw is just a basic dowel rod. So there is a purchased product in this video, which is kind of rare. I try to go off of anything that I have around me. This is something that I purchased and had knocking around the shop I don't know how long ago, to be completely honest. So this, at this point, for how long I've had it, is technically free to me, but for all of you at home that want to do this and you find a downed log and have a chainsaw, not only will you need gas or electric to be able to run the chainsaw, but you'll also need to purchase a 1/2 inch dowel rod. At least that's what I'll be using, so I can use either one of my paddle bits or just one of my high-speed drill bits to bore a 1/2 inch hole that this will then be recepted into. Still snug, but I will use a little bit of wood glue as well. So wood glue, dowel rod, some live edge, and a chainsaw. Should preferably do pretty much the entire project. I'll also be using my map torch a little bit to heat up some rod, and I'll show you here what I'll be doing with that at the very end. So stay tuned, let's have some fun. Alright, so it was going a lot better than I was anticipating, so I got a few more pieces than I intended to. But if you haven't dealt with Russian olive before, it's what I have out there for live edge, besides some cottonwood, which cottonwood is just fine as well. But I like the look of this when I stain it or when I just oil it. So, this is what the Russian olive looks like for its bark type. Not too bad. You can sometimes mildly stabilize it, but most of the time it kind of just peels off. Sometimes you'll just pull one chunk and the whole thing will just come unravel. With Russian olive, it can kind of have a odd, distinct odor that seems almost like burning popcorn when you burn it. Not the best aromatherapy, or just kind of the aroma that you want when you burn wood. So just a heads up, if you do have this and you do wish to try to burn it for the winter, it will burn, but it also kind of smokes. Kind of an interesting oddity with that. But when you do get the actual fur off of it, is what it kind of feels like, or just bark. This is what you're left with without any stain, without any oil or anything. This is what it looks like. So I'll be sanding these lightly and kind of pairing them up like a jigsaw. So I cut quite a few numerous pieces because, as we all know, no two trees grow identically the same. And you'll get different kind of wonky patterns. They're not going to be all perfect spheres. They're not going to be all oblong. There's going to be a few of them that are pretty close. So what we're going to do is kind of match up just 3 for the snowman base, which is going to be this larger piece, and then a mid-size, and then a very small size. And I'm going to go through and do that real quick and kind of match those. Alright, so I have picked out the best kind of combination to make 3 different snowmen. And what the next step will be is just to do some face sanding and to kind of lightly hit the edges that chipped away from the chainsaw, just so that way there's no rough spots for splinters. And I'm going to be putting a flat bottom so that these stand up nicely and don't try to roll and fall at all. So I'm going to flatten the bottoms just with a belt sander, and then I'm also going to flatten the bottoms slightly for where they connect, just so that way it makes a little bit more of a flat surface for the dowel rod. Alright, so I have 3 pretty much ready to rock and roll. This one, I went with the more kind of rounded, no bark, kind of more of a soft snowman, kind of cuddly look to it. So this is still just bare wood, sanded, drilled a hole in the bottom of it. So this is 1/2 inch hole for a 1/2 inch dowel rod. Did one on top and bottom for the center, one on the bottom for the top, and then for the bottom, I sanded the bottom smooth, and I actually kind of chose these ones with a little extra leg off to the side, so that way it kind of helps stabilize. And since these are going to be, no two are exactly perfect from each other, what you can do is kind of match up the ones you think that will stand the best. Rotate them around, play with them a little bit, to line up nicely. And I've got 3 of those. Now on the ones with bark, for the most part, little guy, mid-size did good, but the bottoms of both of these ended up having, during the sanding process, some tear out of the bark. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm actually going to kind of wipe off any dirt, dust, or debris, put in a light coating of glue so that way it doesn't come out the front or back or on the side at all. And then I'm going to pin nail the bark on just in a couple little indiscreet spots on both sides. This one ended up having pretty decent pop off as well. So it'll be glued and pin nailed to help hold it in place. And then past that point, I'm going to cut some 1-inch dowel rods, put some glue in either end, and then I'm going to tap the whole thing together. Now originally I contemplated about going one way or the other with the oil, but I think once I get the holes glued, I can oil it real quick and then start knocking these together. And past that, I got one other thing I was going to show you here in a second. I might end up actually, depending on how the gluing process goes, I might just do the oil at the end, but we'll kind of see. Alright, so all three have been sanded. I restabilized the bark as you saw with some wood glue and pin nails. The dowel rods are installed into the holes that I drilled with the drill press. So now we go on to some decoration. So for snowmen, you have the buttons on the face, or in the belly. You have the smiley face, the nose, and then you got the two eyes. So my thought for the buttons, eyes, and the mouth is I'm actually going to use an awl heated up, and at that point we'll go in for the eyes. I'm going to utilize some pliers with some handled or kind of rubber grips, and then for the buttons I'm actually going to go into my drill bits, kind of size up how big I want these buttons, which I think I kind of want the buttons a bit bigger. Try and go a little bigger. Maybe. I am missing a few drill bits. Sadly, they snapped on me. But that guy might be the winner. Yep, there it is. So what I'm going to do is hold my drill bit by the bottom here. I'm actually going to heat the top of this just enough to create a circle little scorch mark. Preferably you would use junk drill bits, or you would use like a stock of steel, something like that, but something you can hit with a torch and get it real hot real quick and then cool it down. I'm just going to do it a few times so I shouldn't lose the temper of the drill bits. So that is the next step. Well, there you have it. Another project done and ready for the porch, for gifts, or what have you. Hopefully you enjoyed it and liked it. I definitely really enjoy working with good old Russian olive wood. I think it turned out pretty well. And alternatively, you don't necessarily have to use the chainsaw. It's my preferred method. It's quick, it's easy, the blade's a little easier to sharpen, they're a lot cheaper in that regard, and I can cut it wherever I need to be, and I don't have to worry about the prerequisites of how large the actual stock that I'm cutting is. My bandsaw is able to cut up to 10 inches width-wise, but on the height of it, it is held back by about 7 to 8 inches that you can kind of get through with it. So it's not quite an actual 10 inches in a round item that I'd be cutting. And I've noticed that I need to replace the blade, so I've been looking at alternatives until I can get the other blade for it. Currently sold out on Amazon, of course. So waiting on that one, but I really do enjoy the chainsaw. You can alternatively use a hand saw, chop saw if you feel confident in it. Same with the table saw if you have a good setup or some kind of slide or something hooked up on it. You can come up with a couple of safe ways to make a few cuts or a few swaths through the actual log that you're working with. And they don't have to be super huge. These logs are not that large, and the total height on it is probably 14 inches tall, so not terribly huge in total. So you break it up, they're not that large, so you can get through with like a 10-inch chop saw. You can make a couple cuts, 10-inch table saw. You can also do the same thing if you have 12-inch, even easier. Not that you're actually using full 12 inches when you make your cut. But yeah, there's a couple different methods to cut the material down, and then as long as you can drill a hole the size of a dowel rod that you are using, you're perfectly in the clear for it. And the burning part of it, that was just more or less my preference, because you can always use paint. There's all sorts of different other things you can do for that as well. I just kind of enjoy that look a little bit better, and especially when you use oil or different types of natural stain to pull out just the natural luster of the wood. I feel like a burnished kind of complements that a little bit more than a bright and bulky color. Plus also if you do oil it beforehand and try to paint over it, it doesn't always work out. Same goes for if you do it afterwards. Some paints react bad with stain and or oils. So it kind of makes it a little bit difficult. Now, of course, if you use an oil base, you're pretty much in the clear, but if it's not at all within the set parameters of the time, it could run, all sorts of things. So a burn is done. Once this spot right here cooks and chars, it's done. Wipe away the ash. There's no worry of that running away or fading or anything else like that. Throw a little oil on it, the wood's conditioned, it'll be there forever. You literally scarred the wood. So again, thank you all so very much. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Each one of you guys subscribing helps out greatly to the channel and helps my reach to more and more people, so that way the content can get spread around and more people can enjoy it. If you do really enjoy the content and want to be notified each time I upload, please make sure to hit that notification bell. That lets you know each and every time a video comes out, you'll get a notification on your phone, laptop, and or smart TV device of any kind. So again, thank you all so very much for your viewership, and have yourself a wonderful day.